Norman Maclean's A River Runs Through It is a favorite book of mine. He seems to capture certain aspects of fly fishing, such as the humor, the frustration, the peace, and the occasionally obsessive nature of the sport. He writes about his father, a Presbyterian minister, and also a dedicated fly fisherman. My father, he writes, was very sure about certain matters pertaining to the universe. To him, all good things, trout as well as eternal salvation, come by grace, and grace comes by art, and art does not come easy. Well, neither do big steelhead trout in Idaho.
There's a certain mystique about steelhead fishing that probably isn't there for fishing for brown or rainbow trout, for instance. I think there's a little more of an art to it. There's certainly a lot of rarer fish, so it's the opportunity to catch one and the chance of catching one is a lot smaller, and that certainly increases the attraction to catch a fish of that kind of size.
Native steelhead return to Idaho in the fall after 1 to 3 years spent in the ocean feeding. The big trout winter in places like the Snake River near Lewiston, living off fat reserves until spring when they move up the tributaries to their spawning grounds. But in the meantime, they encounter the gauntlet of anglers coming to Idaho from all over the country with steelhead fever.
This is one of the premier places in North America for steelhead, one of North America's premier large trout. I'm going to see if I can find some.
Colorado angler George Jensen's chances of finding one are much improved over last year. At last count, the number of steelhead crossing Lower Granite Dam was 85,000, twice the number of last year's run. But even the best trout fisherman may need to modify his technique to land a steelhead.
Trout fishermen, fish with logic, or at least they think they fish with logic, and they're thinking about what the fish is feeding on and everything like that. And when you're dealing with steelhead, you're dealing with a fish that hasn't really fed actively since it left the ocean.
Another passage in the book, A River Runs Through It, reads, "If you have never picked up a fly rod before, you will soon find it factually and theologically true that man by nature is a damn mess." Fly fishing isn't new to this group of anglers, but fishing for steelhead is riddled with its own mysteries.
The presentation of this is just critical. Make this fly fishing for steelhead work.
A good fishing guide can give you an edge. John Patterson and his partner John Crawford have 14 years of steelhead experience between them, fishing with everything from spoons to spinners. But one of the most challenging ways to catch a steelhead is with a fly.
You know, you have to pay attention all the time. Every cast has to be accurate, has to be controlled, and you need to do the very best you can with it to try to stay right on top of it.
Fish! He's a hot little bugger. You know that it isn't something else. It's solid. It's really, and you feel real weight for a second, there's sort of a little hesitation, and depending on the fish, the hot fish will really take off then. I couldn't believe it. I only put out about a 30-foot cast, and it took it right in the swing. Well, this fish might go 26 inches. Not quite a 40-incher.
It was definitely a hatchery fish, and got the dorsal down on him, and got the ad fin clipped off of him for sure.
A missing adipose fin means that it's not a wild fish, but was raised in one of Idaho's 4 steelhead hatcheries. As a smolt, its adipose was clipped before it was sent on its long journey to the ocean.
Can I hand him to you?
If this were a wild steelhead, it would be catch and release only.
It's about a 25, 26-inch fish, little female. And she's been through some tough times one way or the other, but she made it this far.
Oh, that was fun.
The very first line of the story, A River Runs Through It, reads, "In our family, there was no clear line between religion and fly fishing. Perhaps that explains better than anything what fishing does for the soul."
Hey, what do you want him to put on your tombstone? That he stayed home and worked, or that he went steelhead fishing?
Well, how about that he caught a steelhead?
I don't think that's even as important as the fishing itself. I think when you get hung up on the catching a fish, you lose a great deal of why you're there. I love fishing in the fall, and to me, this is the best time of year. I mean, look at the scenery that we have around us. The weather is perfect. Not that many people out. It's just a neat time of year.
This is absolutely fabulous. There's nothing like it. Colorado's got its own qualities, but Idaho has its own unique flavor, scenery, people, and fish.